The night my sister tried to humiliate me in front of everyone was the night I stopped being her shadow. The ballroom shimmered with fairy lights strung across the vaulted ceiling, crystal chandeliers catching every sparkle of laughter. My sister, Rachel, stood at the center of it all during the rehearsal, her white rehearsal dress clinging like she already owned the world. Her lips curled into a smirk when her eyes found me lingering in the back row. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. And after the video, don't forget to tell me, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Don't seat her near the front, Rachel announced loud enough for everyone to hear. She doesn't belong there. A ripple of laughter broke out from the bridesmaids, a cruel symphony disguised as giggles. Some of the groomsmen chuckled too, their eyes flicking over me like I was an uninvited guest who'd somehow wandered in. I felt the sting immediately, like ice water poured down my spine. I lowered my eyes, staring at the floor so no one could see the heat rising in my face. The humiliation pressed down harder than the chandelier light above. I swallowed the lump in my throat, telling myself I had survived worse. But in that moment, it felt like the ground itself wanted to open and swallow me whole. "Come on, Ra, don't be harsh," one of the bridesmaids muttered weakly, but the damage was already done. Rachel waved her off like I was nothing more than background noise at her grand rehearsal. And then, just when I thought I could sink no further, a hand landed firmly on my shoulder. Strong, steady, deliberate. I froze. A hush spread through the ballroom like someone had cut the music mid-song. I turned my head slightly, and standing beside me was him, Alexander Pierce, the billionaire nobody expected to show up at a wedding rehearsal like this. His tailored navy suit looked carved to perfection, his presence slicing through the sneers and laughter like a blade. He said, "Tell them who you really are now," voice low yet carrying across every corner of the room. Every eye was on me. Every laugh died mid-breath. My pulse hammered against my ribs, my throat tightening. Rachel's face twisted. Her perfect, rehearsed confidence was slipping like a mask that cracked too soon. For the first time in a long time, I lifted my chin. The silence in the ballroom stretched tight, like a rope ready to snap. Alexander's hand didn't move from my shoulder. His grip wasn't forceful, but grounding. A reminder that I didn't have to shrink anymore. Rachel recovered quickly, tossing her curls back with a laugh that tried too hard. "Oh, come on. Are we really doing this? She's just Emily, my sister, who's always lurking in the background. Don't make her out to be someone important." The word lurking stabbed sharper than any knife. Some guests chuckled nervously, unsure whether to laugh or stay quiet. The groomsmen shifted uncomfortably. Their laughter from moments ago now sounded hollow in their throats. Alexander's voice cut through the air like thunder. He said, "Funny," he said evenly, his gaze sweeping across the crowd. "Because from where I stand, it looks like the only person in this room with dignity is her." A murmur rippled through the rehearsal space. My head snapped toward him, lips parting in disbelief. No one, absolutely no one, had ever stood up for me like that in front of Rachel. Rachel's fiancé Mark finally spoke, brow furrowed. "Look, I don't know what this is about, but maybe we should stick to the rehearsal." "We don't need to sit down," Alexander interrupted, calm but terrifying. Mark froze, sinking back into his chair like a scolded child. Dozens of eyes drilled into me, some curious, some judgmental, some wide with confusion. My throat got dry. "Emily," Alexander said softly, just for me, "they don't get to define you. You tell them, or I will." My chest tightened. My instincts screamed to stay quiet, to fade back into the shadows like always. But something in his eyes, sharp, unrelenting, yet patient, ignited something inside me. A spark. I took a slow breath and stepped forward, the click of my heels echoing louder than the murmurs. My voice trembled at first, but I forced strength into each word. "You've all spent years treating me like I'm nothing, but maybe that's because you never bothered to see me for who I really am." Rachel scoffed. "Oh, and who exactly are you, Emily? You work in some dusty office, you wear secondhand dresses, and you show up where you're barely wanted. Don't act like you're suddenly somebody." Gasps circled the room. At her cruelty. Alexander stepped closer, looming behind me like a storm at my back. "She's not just somebody, Rachel. She's the reason half of you even have jobs." The chandeliers seemed to rattle with the weight of his words. Confusion spread like wildfire. People whispered, eyes darting between me and Alexander. Rachel blinked rapidly, her smirk finally gone.
"What are you talking about?" she asked, voice faltering. "I am not the failure you've painted me as my whole life," I said, voice steady now. "I've been working in silence, building, investing, and last month I became the majority shareholder of the very company you brag about to your friends, Rachel." The room erupted. Shocked gasps, hushed voices, hands covering mouths in disbelief. Rachel stumbled back, color draining from her face. "You're lying. That's impossible." Alexander's lips curved into a faint smirk. "I should know. I was the one who sold her the final shares." The room froze again. Even the air felt thicker, charged, alive with scandal. Rachel's fiancé muttered under his breath, but she shot him a glare that silenced him immediately. I let the silence hang, letting every person absorb what they had just heard. For the first time in years, I didn't lower my eyes. I didn't shrink. I met Rachel's stunned gaze, voice sharp as glass. "The next time you tell people where I belong, remember this. While you were busy tearing me down, I was climbing higher than you ever imagined." Gasps turned into murmurs of approval. A few guests nodded slowly, eyes darting between me and Alexander as if seeing us both for the first time. "You think this changes anything? This is my wedding. You'll never be more than a shadow standing in the back." Rachel spat, fury replacing shock. Alexander leaned closer, his hand brushing mine in the smallest, grounding gesture. "Emily, you don't need to stand in the back anymore. Let's show them where you truly belong." Every heart in the room seemed to pound louder, waiting for my next move. I was ready. Rachel snapped. Her hand shot out, grabbing a champagne glass. She slammed it down hard enough to crack it. Liquid splashed across the linen. Gasps rang out. Her fiancé grabbed her wrist. "Calm down," he muttered under his breath. The sight of Rachel unraveling, cracking in front of her guests wasn't sweet. It was tragic. But I didn't flinch. I turned to the guests, voice carrying. "I never asked for this moment. I didn't come to outshine my sister, but maybe it's time you all stop pretending cruelty is acceptable and laughter excuses it." Silence followed. Even the chandeliers seemed to hum with the weight of my words. Alexander touched my arm lightly, steadying me, eyes flicking to the door. Did I want to walk out and leave the chaos behind? No. I looked straight at Rachel, perfect image crumbling. If you really believe I don't belong here, then maybe it's you who doesn't belong in my life anymore. The room froze. Rachel's chest heaved, her eyes widened. And with that, I stepped away. Every gaze followed, every whisper chased me, but none mocked. Not anymore. The ballroom no longer belonged to Rachel. The whispers weren't about her flowers, dress, or big day. They were about me. My name slipped from lips in disbelief, shock, even admiration.
Rachel's chest rose and fell like she was suffocating. Her bridesmaids kept distance now, faces pale with unease. The groomsmen avoided her eyes, unsure if standing beside her was worth it. "You can't do this! You can't ruin everything! This is my moment!" she shouted. Alexander's eyes sharpened. "No, Rachel. You ruined it the second you decided to humiliate your sister in front of everyone. Actions have consequences. You just never thought yours would catch up." The guests shifted uncomfortably. Some nodded, some whispered behind hands. Mark, Rachel's fiancé, looked at her with embarrassment and disappointment.
I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk. I stood taller, the weight of years lifting from my shoulders. For once, I felt free. Rachel's voice broke. "You'll regret this, Emily. You'll regret humiliating me." I leaned in just enough for her to hear. "No, the only thing I regret is giving you the power to humiliate me for so long. That ends tonight." Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't stay to watch her crumble. I turned, Alexander falling into step beside me, the entire room parting as we walked toward the exit. Heads bowed, whispers chased us, but no laughter followed. As the heavy doors swung open, Alexander's voice dropped low. "You don't need their validation, Emily, but after tonight, they'll never forget your name." The air outside was crisp, the night sky endless. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I glanced at him, chest still tight with adrenaline. "Why did you step in back there?" I asked. His eyes softened, steel easing. "Because I saw someone worth defending, someone who didn't realize she already had the power to defend herself." For the first time in a long time, I smiled. Not the polite, forced smile I wore to survive, but a real one. "Thank you," I whispered. "Don't thank me," he said. "You did that on your own. I just reminded you who you really are." And as we walked away from the glittering ballroom and Rachel's unraveling world, I knew I wasn't the shadow anymore. I was the storm they never saw coming.